The Memphis Grizzlies started their weekend dominating the Brooklyn Nets, but they ended their weekend once again for the second time this season, losing in Los Angeles against the Lakers. So many things happened during the game, so many players played. We got to break all of it down. What went wrong, what went right for the Memphis Grizzlies over the weekend, coming up here on Locked On Grizzlies.
You are Locked On Grizzlies, your daily Memphis Grizzlies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to Locked On Grizzlies. I am your host today, Damichael Cole, beat writer for the Commercial Appeal here in Memphis, Tennessee. Welcome to this week's first edition of Locked On Grizzlies. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to Locked On Grizzlies each and every single day with us. Today's episode is brought to you by Robinhood. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any network. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. So sign up at robinhood.com/gold right now to take advantage of that opportunity. Don't forget about the Locked On Grizzlies newsletter as well. The Locked On newsletter is here. The Locked On Daily newsletter. Make sure that it's your one-stop shop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right into your inbox. Sign up for free now at lockedondaily.com. That's lockedondaily.com and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Grizzlies daily newsletter. The Grizzlies, it was a mixed bag this weekend, right? You started the weekend, beat the Brooklyn Nets 135-119, and pretty much looked like many of the games we'd seen in recent weeks for the Grizzlies. 130 plus points, dominance. But Sunday wasn't that. And Sunday was a game, again, you felt like the Grizzlies were going against a struggling Lakers team at the time. The Lakers entering that game against the Grizzlies were 3-8 in their last 11 games, while the Grizzlies were 10-1, had won 10 of their last 11. And it wasn't that the Grizzlies just lost in this game. The game was controlled by the Lakers. This didn't even feel like a game for most parts where, like the Dallas loss, it was more like, the Grizzlies let that one get away, some ticky-tack foul calling, the referees this, the referees that. Anytime you play the Lakers, it almost feels like you can blame referees. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But at the same time, this was a wire-to-wire win from Los Angeles. So the Grizzlies kind of got a taste of their own medicine. We've been seeing the Grizzlies as of late dominate teams from first quarter, then just stay in control for majority of the game. That was the Los Angeles Lakers yesterday on Sunday night. And as I mentioned before the show, the Lakers, despite all their struggles, they've still been a really good team at home. They're now 9-3, I believe, at home, despite, again, the struggles that they've had this season. So this was never going to be an easy game for Memphis. LeBron James was back in the lineup, looked fresh early on. But it wasn't even really LeBron who was the problem. It was Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis finished with 40 points, 16 rebounds in this game. And the Grizzlies simply just didn't have enough answers for guarding the Lakers center in this game. So what went wrong? A bunch of different things that you can kind of point to as to how Memphis or why Memphis lost this game. I want to start with the backcourt. I want to start with the Grizzlies backcourt, the one that, before the season, I said it was a top 3 backcourt in the NBA. And Joe Mullinax even at one point went as far and say, they were right there above Kyrie and Luka. My co-host did. But all that being said, this backcourt's got to be better in these big games. And the Desmond Bane struggles are well documented. We've talked a lot about it. But John's got to be better in some of these games as well. Jaren Jackson Jr., once again, I think he's been probably the most consistent player on the Grizzlies. 25 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. Did foul out. We'll talk about that here in a second as well. But focusing on the backcourt, Ja Morant, 6 of 21 shooting from the field, 2 of 7 on three-pointers. Did get 7 rebounds, did get 6 assists. Same thing for Desmond Bane, 3 of 8 shooting, 0 of 2 on threes. But did get 7 boards, 7 assists as well, but only 7 points. You need more than that from Desmond Bane. Ja Morant did most of his scoring in the fourth quarter. And it was a struggle. Part of the reason it was struggle because the Lakers, with the ability of having Anthony Davis in the paint, just makes it hard on the Grizzlies to score at the basket. Anthony Davis in that playoff series, that 2023 playoff series between the Grizzlies and Lakers, averaged over 4 blocks per game. Several of these players, John Morant, Desmond Bain, those guys are still on the Grizzlies. They remember, the block party that Anthony Davis put on against this team, and there was some hesitancy. I felt like when the Grizzlies were driving to the basket again. John Morant just got very aggressive in the fourth quarter. I think that was more because Memphis was playing from behind, and look, you needed the points by any means necessary. So that backcourt just got to be better all around. Oh, I feel like what makes them so good and why we talked, so greatly about that backcourt in so many ways is because they don't have to be great scorers to be productive players. Again, both players finished the game with more than 5 boards and more than 5 assists. Desmond Bain, 7 boards, 7 assists. John Morant, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. They can still be effective in other ways, but 3 of 8 shooting and 0 of 2 on 3-pointers, especially for Desmond Bain. You need more than 0 of 2 on 3-pointers from Desmond Bain. You know why you need that? Because Desmond Bain just went 0 of 2. The team went 9 of 28 total. The Grizzlies only took 28 3-pointers in this game. I mean, again, we've talked about a lot of NBA teams starting to target 40, 50 3-point attempts per game. And it's fine. But at the same time, when you're not having as much success in the paint, in this case, the Grizzlies finished tonight with 56 paint points, but Anthony Davis was definitely altering shots around the rim. And then at the same time, you're not making 3-pointers. It just makes for a very, very tough night at the office. So yeah, the shooting issues, kind of just touched on it a little bit there, but that was another problem for Memphis in this game. That's something that I think again it'll be a talking point throughout the season against certain teams. Speaking of certain teams, there's something about this matchup with the Los Angeles Lakers, and I know that people make a joke out of it, like, oh, the Lakers and the referees on the side and things like that. It's frustrating. It's frustrating because there's so many fouls that the Lakers get. And I'm just like, the whistles feel, almost predictable in a way. Austin Reeves drives the basketball, extends his shoulder a little bit and then flails away from the defender as if the defender, like pushed him really hard and no one's really complaining about it. Look, I really don't know what to say in terms of how you guard this team or whatever the case may be. But it's clear that when you play the Lakers, the fouls are going to be a factor. They are very good at drawing fouls. That's the truth. The last 3 years, the Los Angeles Lakers have been top 5 in NBA in free throw attempts per game. Last 3 seasons, Austin Reeves is good at it. LeBron James is good at it. Anthony Davis right now second in the NBA in free throw attempts per game. Anthony Davis had 12 free throw attempts in this game against the Grizzlies. And as a result of the crafty style that the Lakers play, Jaren Jackson Jr. fouled out. Jaren Jackson Jr. was the most consistent offensive production for the Grizzlies in this game, and he fouled out with more than 4 minutes left in it. So you lost Jaren Jackson Jr., at a critical point. And pretty much at that time, that was all she wrote. Because that's a problem that I think the Grizzlies are continuing to encounter when going against the Lakers. We'll talk about it more in the second segment as we kind of break down Zach Edey's performance as well. But the Lakers know how to draw fouls. Again, I don't really want to get too big and just complaining about the referees and all the foul calls that they're getting, because the point of the matter is they're consistently getting them. So us saying, oh, the Lakers, these foul calls, well, what good is it going to do? I mean, either something needs to change defensively, or Taylor Jenkins and his staff needs to send a whole cut up to the league and say this can't happen. But all things considered, the Grizzlies played from behind most of this game, gave a good effort late in the third quarter, made a 19-5 run to get the deficit down to 9 going into the fourth quarter. Then it was, again, Anthony Davis got back in the game. The Grizzlies didn't have just much of an answer for him throughout the game. Well, They didn't have much of an answer for him for most of the game, but there is a player named Zach Edey who returned. He could be the answer for guarding Anthony Davis going forward. We'll talk about that here next, coming up on Locked On Grizzlies. But before we get to that, today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on your uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. So the new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk, so rates may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold/LLC. Today's episode is also brought to you by BetterHelp. Listen, this is a tough time of the year for some people as we get into the holiday seasons. You may be thinking of that loved one that you lost, and again, holidays are different without certain loved ones. And if you're that person, and if you're thinking about starting therapy, you may want to give BetterHelp a try. BetterHelp is the ultimate place to go take advantage of good rates out there, and can get you in better moods as we get into the holiday season here. Look, this month's all about gratitude, and along with the people out there, it's always to remember not to forget about yourself as well. BetterHelp, what makes BetterHelp a good option for you? It's entirely online. So if you're thinking about starting, make sure it's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you got to do is fill out a brief questionnaire, and you'll get matched up with a licensed therapist. And you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Again, holiday seasons can be tough, but BetterHelp is here to get you through what could be a tough season. So let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com, help.com/LockedOnNBA to take advantage of the opportunities right now over at BetterHelp. Welcome back to Locked On Grizzlies, and talked a lot about the bad things in the first segment. A lot of things didn't go well in the game against the Lakers, but Zach Edey was back. That was one of the big positives. The Grizzlies got Zach Edey back, 7'4", 300-pound center. And the first thing that stood out to me was there wasn't really a lot of rust there, or at least from the casual eye. From my eye, I did not see a lot of rust. He played 24 minutes, recorded a double-double, 13 points, 10 rebounds, 8 offensive boards for Zach Edey. Again, that is why he's here. When you drafted him in the first round, to me, it was about impacting the fact that Steven Adams, Jonas Valanciunas, those two players had the Grizzlies near the top of the NBA in rebounding. Steven Adams was the best offensive rebounder in the NBA when he was with the Grizzlies. Career high 8 offensive rebounds for Zach Edey in this game against the Los Angeles Lakers. Going against Anthony Davis, that was very notable to me. That was notable to me as well. So Zach Edey once again, and there were some struggles that we'll get to. We won't make him sound like the greatest player in the world here, but at the same time, Zach Edey is pretty good and he's pretty impactful. And the proof and the fact that he's so impactful is you played 2 games against the Lakers in Los Angeles, 2 games that have both been losses, 2 games where Zach Edey has been a plus 12 in each game, plus 12 yesterday against the Lakers, plus 12 in that first loss against the Lakers. Simply put, when he gets into the game against the Los Angeles Lakers, the Grizzlies have been good. I had some, and I don't want to be too nitpicky, but it is a problem that I had with this game. We talk about how deep the Grizzlies are. We talk about the depth. One thing that I did not agree with from Taylor Jenkins is when he went to the Grizzlies bench, he went to Jay Huff before he went to Zach Edey. And typically, like if you were playing some other teams, I probably wouldn't have had as much a problem with that. But again, we talk about coaching off field. We're talking about using, the experience, the film to help you out. In that last game against Los Angeles, if you guys remember, Jay Huff started at center because Brandon Clark was out. Zach Edey came off the bench again, was plus 12 in that game. But Jay Huff started at center against Anthony Davis. It looked bad. It wasn't good. And the result was Jay Huff not playing a lot for the remainder of the game. Jay Huff checked in this game, competed, got a block shot, but it was very, very obvious that when Jay Huff checked in, Anthony Davis said it's go time. Like he was going at him, and every play didn't result in success. But again, Jay Huff didn't play a lot in this game. Was -8 in the few minutes that he did play. All that is to say that I kind of felt like, based off that last game, with Anthony Davis in the game, there's no need to put Jay Huff in right now. No, there's no need. So you have other capable bigs. That was the point of drafting Zach Edey. That was the point of getting Brandon Clark and Jaren Jackson Jr. and these guys back. I think when you're playing the Los Angeles Lakers, some way, shape, or form, you should have either Jaren Jackson Jr. or Zach Edey guarding Anthony Davis for the majority of the night. Not even Santi Aldama, who struggled in this game as well, shooting. But we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. But Zach Edey was fine, and I think it's a positive. We'll see. As again, I think long term he's the starting center. At some point, we're going to see that shift where he'll jump into the starting lineup, I believe, and that's going to be a big moment for the Grizzlies. But here's the thing that's really stood out to me about Zach Edey and his impact in this game, and his impact is going to be in these type of games where you play these front courts where you have a guy like Anthony Davis who can go for 40 and 16, on you, because the Western Conference has a few of those types of dudes. But with that being said, is when you put Zach Edey into the game, we talk a lot about how it relieves some of the things off of Jaren Jackson Jr. Jaren Jackson Jr. fouled out in this game. A couple of those fouls were against, Anthony Davis. You put Zach Edey in the game, he can guard Anthony Davis. Is there another big on the Grizzlies team that I'm comfortable seeing guard Anthony Davis for a lot of time? No. Brandon Clark, maybe in some stretches. Brandon Clark, very good, very solid defender. But Santi Aldama, Jay Huff, I don't want to see it. So that's kind of, where we are in terms of who's going to guard Anthony Davis. That's why you drafted Zach Edey, number 9 overall in the draft. So positives there as well. Of course, just like they did in the last meet in Los Angeles, Taylor Jenkins adjusted, and the Lakers started to go at Zach Edey down the stretch of the game. LeBron James drove to the basket on him, made a kind of a easy layup. But again, he did what you're supposed to do. He brought a 7'4" guy all the way up to the 3-point line, drove past him. The help didn't get there quick enough. I don't think Marcus Smart contested the shot on that play, so he was kind of late to rotating, and he got an easy basket, at the rim for LeBron James. There was some, scoring opportunities there for Austin Reeves, who missed a bunch of 3-pointers, but there were some switches where Zach Edey was isolated onto him. And again, the Lakers tried to take advantage, and in some ways did take advantage of Zach Edey being a slower defender who, basically is still learning the NBA game, being that this was his 15th game of experience. But all in all, I think Zach Edey's performance was solid. He's going to be the key against the Lakers going forward. That is very obvious. I'm not at this point. Well, by March, Zach Edey should be starting anyway. But if we get to March, and that's the last time the Grizzlies play the Lakers, it'll be at FedEx Forum. If we get to that game, and Brandon Clark is still your starting center pretty much for the majority of this stretch, I think some way you may still start Brandon Clark, but Zach Edey's got to play 28, 29 minutes when you go against the Los Angeles Lakers, because he helps alleviate some of the pressure off of Jaren Jackson Jr., which is going to help him stay out of foul trouble. We talk about how this Lakers team, they draw fouls. And the Grizzlies have the bodies, but at the same time, you can't have certain guys. You can't have Jaren Jackson Jr. being the one who's in foul trouble because that's just too much to overcome, even with a team with the depth of the Memphis Grizzlies. And speaking of that depth, we're going to talk about that depth a little bit coming up here on Locked On Grizzlies. But before we talk about that depth, remember that today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel because you know it and I know it. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So if you get a hunch in the middle of the game, because I might get me a hunch in the middle of the game tonight when I'm watching double Monday Night Football action. So all I'm going to do is just like you should, just check out the latest stats, view the live play-by-play, check out the trends of the game, and just get a hunch of which direction you may want to go in. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. The best is yet to come for the Grizzlies. And I say that because I'm not trying to say, oh, it's okay. And, this game was an anomaly. Not really trying to say all that. More so speaking to the fact that this game highlighted some weaknesses that are fixable. Maybe at the trade deadline, some people have goals, guys they want, whatever the case may be. But internally as well, some of those things are fixable. And again, we talk a lot about the depth, right? The Grizzlies have, they're one of the deepest teams in the league, and that's still fair. This game doesn't change that. In fact, the Grizzlies had 47 bench points, and we saw, Jalen Wells and Brandon Clark got replaced at halftime in the starting lineup for Marcus Smart and Zach Edey. So those two started the second half. So again, you got some nice production. Luke Kennard, we haven't even mentioned him in the show. Shout out to Luke Kennard. Hadn't been in the rotation much last couple games. 12 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. One of the Grizzlies' most impactful players in this game because of what he did late in the third quarter, early in the fourth, and just being a big part of that run. So shout out to Luke Kennard, just being ready and available for when his minutes came. But that's the good part about the Grizzlies depth, right? I keep saying the fact that you're going to have different guys who are going to step up because you got so many options. This game was a perfect example of that. Luke Kennard was not in the initial rotation. He got thrown in, I think, like late in the second quarter as the Grizzlies were struggling and whatnot. And then, boom, Taylor Jenkins struck gold, in a way. So that's kind of what the Grizzlies have the ability to do. Certain guys don't have it. Scottie Pippen Jr., 1 of 4 in this game, only 2 points. Santi Aldama, 1 of 8. I mean, Santi's been so good. But, see him 1 of 8, 0 of 3 on 3-pointers, only 6 points. We mentioned Jay Huff already. Jake LaRavia, same thing, 2 points, 0 of 2 shooting. You did not get much from the guys who have been pretty much the main contributors off the bench. Marcus Smart, 3 of 11 shooting, 1 of 4 from the field, 7 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. Just wasn't a lot there from the Grizzlies bench. But you know what? The best is yet to come because you got 2 more options who are on the way who I think are just more built for these types of games. Gigi Jackson is the guy who can come off the bench and break down the defense. And I call those type of players run stoppers because there's certain types of players in the league. Everyone can't do it. The Grizzlies only have a couple healthy right now in Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr., run stopper type guys. When the opponent is cooking and instead of calling a timeout, you say, I'm going to get the ball to this dude. He's going to draw a foul, or he's going to get to the cup, he's going to score, or he's going to shoot it, he's going to score, and the crowd's going to get quiet for a little bit. Gigi Jackson has those capabilities, and they're going to need that because what we saw in this game against the Lakers and what we're going to see against, we talk a lot about the Thunder, right? Can the Grizzlies beat the Thunder? They're a very physical team. The Houston Rockets, who beat the Grizzlies earlier this season, they're a very physical team. You got to match these teams' physicality. And in order to do that, you're going to have players who are able to play through contact, players who are able to, withstand, some of that and match the physicality. And the Grizzlies, to me right now, if you look at the bench, like Marcus Smart, he plays the game physical. Santi Aldama has become a more physical player, but that just has not been conducive to his style. Same thing with Luke Kennard, even though he was a big reason for the Grizzlies, late run in attempt to come back in this game. But historically speaking, those games against those physical defenses have not been when we've seen Luke Kennard play his best basketball. But Gigi Jackson's going to thrive in that environment. So will Vince Williams Jr. Vince Williams Jr. is another guy that you could throw at LeBron James, who had 18, I think 8 rebounds and 8 assists in this game. So not really the same level of scoring, but again, LeBron was LeBron. He was fresh. He had a block, chase down block on Desmond Bane, and he looked good. But help will be on the way. When you get those two guys back, Vince Williams, and you're talking about Gigi Jackson, those two guys that I think will be in the rotation simply because of these type of games. Look, Jake LaRavia has been very good for the Grizzlies all season long. I do think that some of his production, not even just in this game, but overall, start to tail off a little bit as a late. And again, there's a lot of moving parts here. So I don't know if it's necessarily his part. Again, Jake LaRavia only had 14 minutes in this game. At one point early in the season, Jake LaRavia was playing more minutes than anyone, coming off the bench. So that's some of it too. Same thing with Scottie Pippen Jr. Tough to find your role as a backup point guard. You only get 9 minutes. We saw Marcus Smart play 29 because he was doing a really good job, on put pressuring the ball when LeBron James had the basketball. Only 13 minutes for Brandon Clark. Only 18 minutes for Jalen Wells. Again, Jalen Wells was the guy. Jalen Wells doesn't ever really look visibly frustrated in the face, but there were some times in this game, and we saw it against the Mavs too. It's easy to say, oh, it's just because he's a rookie or things like that. But, I mean, dude gets some tough calls going against him, man. And again, he'll learn because most of those are coming against players like Austin Reeves, like Luka, in the past in this game. Like I said, Austin Reeves was 6-15 shooters from the field, only 2 of 8 on 3-pointers, but 5 of 5 getting to the free throw line and drew some other fouls as well. Again, Anthony Davis, 9 of 12 from the free throw line. So the Grizzlies, again, you got to overcome some of those problems that you have with the depth, with guys just being consistent producers and stepping up in these roles. I think when Vince Williams gets back and when Gigi Jackson potentially returns as well, you have 2 guys who can pretty much help the Grizzlies out a lot in those areas. So there's more help on the way. All in all, this game isn't an end-all be-all. Grizzlies still right there, top 2 Western Conference. Houston lost over the weekend because they're playing in the NBA Cup. The Mavs had a loss as well before they beat the Warriors in the NBA Cup. So all in all, the Grizzlies right there still in the thick of it. Big important stretch coming up. You got Golden State on Thursday, but and several other impactful games after that. You go to Atlanta against an improved Hawks team, then that West Coast slate, the Suns, Oklahoma City. A bunch of really important games coming up that'll be, kind of defining where this team is. But right now it just feels like the Lakers, at least in Los Angeles, if they don't in Memphis and Los Angeles, the Lakers got the Grizzlies numbers right now. And specifically, it's Anthony Davis. There's a lot of LeBron James mixed in there too. Those two have been really good against the Grizzlies and have kind of led to some of those struggles that Memphis has had in those games. Remember that your favorite podcast now has a newsletter introducing the Locked On Grizzlies Daily Newsletter, the one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at lockedondaily.com. That's lockedondaily.com, and start your day with the new free Locked On Grizzlies newsletter. On our next episode of Locked On Grizzlies, me and Joe Mullinex will be back together. I know my guy's old, as he likes to say. I don't say it. Joe Mullinex is still pretty young and fresh to me, but in his eyes, he's old and washed. So he wasn't available to record this episode with me. But we'll both be back tomorrow to talk a lot of things about the Grizzlies and maybe talk about some things that happened around the Grizzlies recently. We didn't get really to touch much into the Dennis Schroeder situation with the Brooklyn Nets on the other day, but he's not with the Nets anymore. He's with the Warriors now. So the Grizzlies play them next. That's going to be something that's worth talking about coming up here on Locked On Grizzlies in future episodes as well, and much more we got to dive into on this team and just where the Grizzlies are right now. So we'll talk about all that in future episodes of Locked On Grizzlies. Make sure you continue to like, rate, comment, and subscribe to Locked On Grizzlies. And remember, Locked On Grizzlies is free and available wherever you get your podcast. Until next time, I'm Damichael Cole, and we'll see you on Locked On Grizzlies.